George, I'm a CEO of a large company, and I've been Secretary of Defense and the White House Chief of Staff. Vice presidency is a mostly symbolic job. However, if we came to a different understanding, and I can handle more of the mundane jobs. Basically, do everything that you do. So I believe we can make this work.
What is up, Flick fans, and welcome back to my channel. As promised, I went and watched Vice today. This probably is my final review of 2018. 2018 has been a great year, chocked full of fantastic movies, horrible films, if you watched my review for Holmes and Watson, but we're going to end it off with Vice, the brand new movie starring Christian Bale. And this is the story of Dick Cheney, an unassuming, bureaucratic Washington insider who quietly wielded immense power as vice president to George W. Bush, reshaping the country and the globe in ways that we still feel today. I was really excited for this movie, mostly because of Adam McKay. He has done a lot of comedies in the past, but he has sort of reshaped himself. He did The Big Short, which I thought was fantastic. If you guys don't know how my reviews work, I like to talk about the good, the bad, and then give you my score. We are not done with 2018 yet. On New Year's Eve, that morning, I am going to be counting down my most anticipated movies of 2019, and then we go into the new year chock full of Netflix content, streaming platform stuff, and movie reviews. But first, we have to talk about Vice. Let's get right into it. So I was very, very excited for this film, like I've already said, because I just love Adam McKay. I love Christian Bale, Steve Carell, Amy Adams, and the performances is what I want to start with. They are fantastic. Christian Bale is so good in this movie. He's not very over the top. I don't think he needed to be. He is the exact level that I think he should have been at. Dick Cheney is a person that is a hard man to replicate just because of the secrets, the unknown aspects of what his character could be portrayed as on screen. I thought they got the perfect guy with Christian Bale. Going back to his man from The Big Short, Adam McKay, I think casted the right man. Brought in Steve Carell as backup, Amy Adams, and of course Sam Rockwell as George W. Bush, who really just nailed that character. I think some of his dialogue was a little over the top, maybe a little bit unrealistic, but that kind of goes along with the style of this movie. This entire movie brings in aspects of real life and things that maybe don't have to do with the situation or the story, and it makes it this big jam-packed film with a lot of stuff going on. Some of it comes off as, oh, well, maybe that happened. It could have possibly happened, and we even get this little hint at what the movie's going to be at the beginning. It's like, listen, we know there's a lot of secrets here, but we did our effing best. It says that on the screen, so you know exactly what you're in for. I'm not saying I love this movie. I wanted to like this movie a lot more than I liked it. I don't think Vice is a bad movie necessarily, but it's full of way more problems than I anticipated. I still encourage you guys to go see this film in a theater just because there is so much there. I think there's going to be something, not for everyone, but something for certain people who walk out of the theater. But for me, I wanted more of a cohesive story. We're not talking negatives yet. Let's stay in the positives. I will say about half of the extra stuff added into this movie, if we're talking about jumping back and forth between time periods and the extra shots and the B-roll footage and just kind of showing things going on in the world today that apply to things that happened during this situation. I thought some of that worked. Some of it was a bit over the top, a bit too much, and you can tell Adam McKay tried his darndest to instill his style of comedy in here. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. At times, it just came off as a bit too much, but there were also times when I was really laughing and cackling, having a good time. My entire theater laughed at certain jokes. We were all laughing in unison. That's always a good thing, especially the day after watching Holmes and Watson. At times, it seemed like it was leaning in one political direction and keeping politics out of this, but sometimes in movies, when these movies slap you in the face with themes, it becomes a bit much. I did see that a bit in Vice, but they do a really good job overall of keeping that out of it, keeping a perspective from both angles, and even though towards the end, we get a lot of heavy-hitting messages like, okay, this is what truly happened, this is how it affected the world today, we still get that little monologue at the main end for the people that are for Dick Cheney, so it really balances both sides of the equation. I like when movies do that and they don't lean one side or the other. Vice does that. Another reason why Vice had some things that we're really going for. And to me, the first half of the film was far more interesting than the second half. I like the exploration of Dick's character, seeing where he came from, seeing how he ages and gets older. The second half of the film becomes more about the politics involved, and it really kind of shifts. There are two things going on in this movie. One is in the first half, one is in the second half. I did not like the second half as much. There are still things about it that I like, and I think all of it comes back to the performances. If Christian Bale was not playing Dick Cheney, I don't even know if I would have liked this movie, because Adam McKay, I think, made this a bit too stylistic for its own good, but you have those great performances in there. You have great chemistry, especially between Steve Carell and Christian Bale, and then you throw Amy Adams in there, who gives a great performance. I don't know if she's necessarily Oscar-worthy, because a lot of people are nominating her, but she's still really good in the film. The performances, great. Some stylistic choices by Adam McKay, great. There are great things in this movie. I want to start with the editing. Adam McKay did this thing in The Big Short, and it worked really well. He had someone else, or multiple people, tell the story, and then they kept cutting to these real-life situations and having all of this B-roll footage that served the purpose of the story. For Vice, I think he just kind of went crazy with that entire way of telling the story. He kept throwing it in and throwing it in and throwing it in, and after a while, I'm just like, can we just focus on Dick Cheney? Can we go back to his character and go back to the storylines that I really liked about this movie? Because there were times I was having a great time with this film. And then there were other times where I'm like, this is just so much going on right now. You're balancing about 5 different plot points and inserting all of this B-roll in between and showing all of the wars and the political aspects. It's just so much in one movie. And at times it made it feel like a documentary that tried a bit too hard compared to an actual movie or something that I thought Adam McKay was actually going for. And in other moments of the film, I just thought Adam McKay was literally sitting there saying, look how clever we are, look how cool we are, look how smart we are, we're going to put this cool thing in there, and we're going to do this with our characters, and we're going to have them have a 5-minute scene where they quote Macbeth. That completely threw me off and took me out of the movie. For some, that's going to be really funny, and it's going to be one of the reasons why it's one of their favorite movies of the year. For someone like me, I just thought it was a bit off-putting. It was too much humor in a situation that did not require humor. Just tell the story, just do what we think this man's life requires and tell us things that we don't know, tell us things we don't know the answer to, and even if you don't know the answer, make it interesting. Don't try to make it as funny as you possibly can, because when they did that, the story felt unfocused and the movie began to crumble. Luckily, the performances didn't allow the entire thing to crumble, but there were more parts of this movie that I thought were going to be good that weren't good, and that made Vice a bit of a disappointment for me. At the end of the day, guys, there were so many odd choices made in Vice that it kept me from really loving this movie or digging deep into it like I wanted to. I still think it's a good film because there are so many good things in there and it's carried by great performances, but it doesn't hit that level that I think it wanted to. It is not an Oscar quality film, in my opinion, and once again, I encourage you guys to go out and try this for yourselves. Be sure to comment your thoughts down below, and I am going to give Vice, I'm going to give this movie a 68%. I enjoyed myself in the theater. I just walked out a little frustrated by some of the decisions made. I wanted this to be one of my favorite movies of the year. Unfortunately, it did not hit that mark, but I still think it's worth watching in the theater. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Like I said, a lot of things coming in the future. You guys are the absolute best for sticking with my channel, for doing everything that you guys do. I will catch you guys later.